welcome back. It's Josh with the Financial Advisor Car Guy. So this week I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation with you guys, kind of about how I work with my clients when they have concerns about the market. Concerns about the market are very, very common. They're normal. I would expect anybody who's an investor to have some concerns. So from time to time, my firm puts out what we call our weekly wrap or our weekly market update. And basically what that is a few short paragraphs kind of explaining, or sometimes it's a video, a few short paragraphs that explain kind of what's going on in the market and how we should respond. You know, when there's market volatility like there is today, it's, again, very normal. This happens all the time. We haven't seen volatility like this. I mean, we did during COVID, but before COVID, we hadn't seen anything like this since probably 2008 or 9, really. There's been a few pullbacks and things along the way, but nothing like this today. So with all that in mind, I sent out this weekly market update to my clients and got several replies. One of them I wanted to read to you today and then kind of read to you my response and then sort of digest a little bit about what this all means. So I'm gonna dive right in. I'm gonna apologize because I'm gonna look right up above my screen here, right above my phone, and read this to you. So this is my client's reply. Thank you for this update. Being a modest investor, my past history has been let it ride and not fight the wave. However, being newly retired on a fixed income, how do I best manage my investments to avoid further potential loss? I believe my traditional IRA is my larger sum of my investment. So I'm gonna stop right there. She's got two accounts. This is a woman, she's got two accounts. One's an IRA, one's an individual account. The individual account has some individual stock that she's bought and sold, and she'll collect some dividends and things, but it's all, you know, non-qualified money. It's all outside of a retirement account. Then her IRA, and it's a bit more sizable, but it produces an income and she can take it if she needs it, otherwise it gets reinvested. So I'll continue. Yeah, traditional IRA is my larger account in the investment. I believe I have $3,000 cash that I asked to be put aside. Since my AGI, or adjusted gross income, is less than $24,000 a year, is it better to pull small increments out for tax implications, theoretically speaking? I've never been good at playing craps. Okay, so we'll start by talking about the email. She asks three very good questions, right? Should I let it ride? How do I avoid further potential losses? And do I have cash on the side the way we discussed? And then she did kind of say, is it better to pull out small increments? So kind of four questions, but I addressed it as if it were three. So I'm gonna read my reply, but I'm gonna change the front a little bit because basically I give her name and all the things. So basically you had a few very good questions that I thought I'd be able and equipped to answer. I'll start with your first one about managing your investments to avoid loss. The bottom line here is that you wanna keep with inflation. And if you wanna keep with inflation, it is important to remain invested. There is always the risk of loss, even if you're not invested in the market. Here's why. Let's say you park your cash in a coffee can buried in your backyard. Great. You put $5,000 in there, and you know what? In 5 years, that 5K will still be there, unharmed and in its entirety. Here's where you lost money. The world around you has continued to experience inflation, and things cost a lot more. Gas might go from $4 a gallon to $6 a gallon. Milk might go from $3 a gallon to $4 a gallon. Food in general gets more expensive. A new car may go from $20,000 to $30,000. Everything climbs in cost, but your dollars didn't keep up. Now you open that coffee can and find $5,000 in cash. It won't go as far as it would have those 5 years prior. So managing your money to avoid potential loss is possible, but there will always be the risk of some loss. So I'd say that our current strategy of leaving a bit of cash on the side or uninvested is the best plan of attack, simply because if you need some money, we can provide it to you without selling while things are down. The market will come back. So as long as we don't sell shares while they're down, you will never lose money. As the cash you left on the sidelines dwindles, we can pick and choose what to sell and when to sell them in order to replenish the reserves. So I kind of addressed her first question about potential loss, and I really wanted to explain to her that there's no guarantee in life, right? You park your cash, even if you left it in the bank. I use the analogy of parking it in a coffee can in your backyard. Even if you put it under your mattress or leave it in a savings account, it's not growing at the same pace inflation is. So life is costing more while your dollars, sure, aren't being lost in the market, but they're not growing with inflation. They're not going to earn the interest it needs to grow so that the dollar is still as powerful as it is, or was. Your second question involved that cash that I just spoke about. I think that it is important to leave that money uninvested for the what if that may or may not come up. At our next review, I'd suggest we spend a little bit of time figuring out what the right amount of cash to leave is, and to make sure that your investments are not too aggressive, potentially helping to avoid significant losses. Again, you only realize a loss if you sell while the holding is down. So what that means, I'll just kind of digress a little bit. If I bought 100 shares of Apple stock at $100 a share, today they're worth about $150 a share, give or take a couple of bucks, but I'm up, let's do the math, right? 100 shares at $100 would be $10,000. So if I let them appreciate to 150 a share, now I have $15,000. So I've made $5,000. Great. But let's say I still have only 100 shares. So let's say instead of $100 a share, they go down to 90. Okay, so my 10,000 is now only worth 9,000, but I still have that 100 shares. So using those numbers, when the market was up, I had 15 grand. When the market was down, I only have 9 grand. My basis is 10,000 either way. I only realize that $1,000 loss if I sell at $90 a share. If I hold on to it and let it get back up to 120, 130, maybe that 150, then I've made money. I never actually took a loss. Even though on paper my account value may be down, I never took a loss, okay? All right, so lastly, let's touch on distributions. At age 72, you will start beginning to be required to take distributions from your IRA. These are called required minimum distributions. Basically, the reason is that the IRS is telling you it is time to start drawing from your traditional IRA. For less tax implications in the future, it may be wise to start considering small Roth conversions each year. The tax you'd pay on the conversion isn't much with your current adjusted gross income. Again, she up above said her AGI is $24,000 a year. So she's got room before she jumps to the next bracket. So I explain, right? The tax you'd pay on the conversion isn't much with your current AGI. It would allow these funds to grow tax-free into the future. If you need the money for elective spending, then it's not the right move. But if you're not thinking you'll need much of this money anytime soon, it might be a good fit, theoretically speaking. So from a compliance standpoint, I cannot give somebody recommendations, quotes, interest rates, percentages. I can't give any of that stuff through an email. That's just unacceptable. It has to be verbal, in person, over the phone. There's a couple forms of electronic communications. We have a secure network messaging software that works, but through a regular email, I can't give any of that stuff. So I have to be very careful in my wording here, which is why I say theoretically speaking. Now, for most people, if they're in a very low tax bracket and they don't need the income, they should start to convert. In her case, my recommendation to her would be that she should start to convert. And that's exactly what I'm going to tell her in our next appointment. So I close by saying, listen, you're not gambling these dollars away. In reference to her craps joke, right? She's not shooting craps. I said, you are most likely invested in corporate America, so the likelihood of the failure across your investments is incredibly low. The truth is, all of these companies are struggling with what's going on in the world, but none of them are struggling to a point of complete failure. Paper value may be down, but you're not losing any shares. Hang in there, and we'll review this all again when the time comes. Let me know if you have any additional questions. My very best, Josh. So I tried to address each and every one of her questions and concerns. Hopefully I eased her mind. Hopefully I explained things to a point where she realizes that, okay, we do have a financial plan. We do have goals that we're working towards. Those goals haven't changed. The market has changed. So the emotional side is telling her, reel in, pull back the reins, slow down. We're not there yet though. She's still right on track to retire the way she wants to retire. She's already retired recently, so now she's living in retirement, but she's living in retirement the way we planned. So again, as long as she's not selling shares while the market's down, she hasn't realized any loss. Her paper value is down, but from the grand scheme, from the big picture, right? If we looked at her entire portfolio, we can pick and choose which investments to cash out or sell when the market is appropriate, depending on her need, depending on all the things along the way. At this point, I wanted to ease her mind and explain to her that she's in fine condition. She's in fine shape. She's not 72 yet, so she's not required to take any money out. She's not taking any money out. I mean, it didn't say that in there. She just asked that I leave a little bit of money on the sidelines to cash. $3,000 in that IRA, which is a very small percentage of the account, but she asked that we just set $3,000 aside for the what if in the event she needs it. So we did. That's still there. At our next review, maybe we'll discuss, is 3,000 the right number? Is it enough? If it's not, what can we do to generate some more cash in there so that you can have access to it when the time is right? So that's all I have for you guys today. I just wanted to leave you with that. I just thought that this was a really good interaction to share with you guys, because these are how investors are feeling. This might be exactly how you're feeling. Are you able to let it ride? How do you manage your investments to hopefully avoid potential future losses? What else did she ask, right? Do I have enough cash put on the sidelines? And should I start distributions now because my AGI is small? It all just depends on where you're at in life. If you're already retired and your AGI is small, then yeah, maybe it's time to start taking money. And if you're not going to take money, maybe it's time to pay the tax and convert it to Roth. That's a great one. So anyway, that's all I got. If you guys like this stuff, please comment down below. Tell me what you loved. Tell me if you disagree. Josh, you're an idiot, right? If that's how you feel, or if you think that I'm not doing things correctly, by all means, let me know. I love having these conversations. I really, really do. I would suggest that every scenario is one-off. No two investors are the same. No two retirees are the same. No two pre-retirees are the same. My circumstance is different than yours, which is different than theirs, which is different than theirs. Everybody's in a different boat. So, slow your roll. If you don't agree with me, this is a one-time thing, right? I'm just telling this client what they should do and using them as kind of an example. But I'd love to have this conversation with every one of you guys. If there's something that you need help with, or if you have questions about the market, let's talk. I'm happy to be a resource to each and every one of you. I appreciate you guys following along as we talk about all this stuff. A lot of it's car stuff, a lot of it's, sometimes it's finance. And this week, this was kind of what was pulling on my heart to share with you guys. So like I said, I just wanted to take this case study, so to speak, and share it with you and kind of read you my response. The response is really the key takeaway for you guys, because you just got to remain level-headed. The world's maybe in disarray, but it's not falling apart. You're not, we have it pretty good. We really, really do. We've got it better than most. And, the other thing to consider is if your money's down, everybody who invests money is down. My money is down a lot, more than most of my clients, because I'm a bit more aggressive. But I understand market scenarios and cycles, and I'm not changing my investments. In fact, I'm adding money to my investments when I can. That's, one thing I didn't tell her, but she's not working still. She's retired. She's not adding to these accounts. I wouldn't encourage her to. I would tell her to just save that money in the bank, or keep it in a savings account, or bring it over to my firm, Edward Jones, and invest that money in the money market. Our money market's paying great right now. So, but anyway, hang in there, ask questions, like, subscribe, comment down below, and remember, may every investment you make be a good one. Till next time.